Hello everyone. Today we are going to study chapter 15 of Science class 9, that is Improvement in Food Resources. This is the first part of the chapter, and in this video we'll be covering the whole crop yield portion of the chapter. So let's understand first what is the need for increasing crop production. As we know that our population is more than 1 billion and it is still growing. We will need more than 1 billion tons of grain every year to feed this growing population. Since increasing the area of land for cultivation is limited, it is necessary to increase the production efficiency of crops and livestock. The production efficiency of crops and livestock can be increased by adopting scientific management practices to improve crop yield, undertaking mixed farming, intercropping, integrated farming practices like combining agriculture with livestock, poultry, fisheries, beekeeping, etc. Now let's study about the types of crops. Cereals like rice, wheat, maize, millet, sorghum, etc. provide us carbohydrates. Pulses like peas, beans, grams, etc. provide us proteins. Oil seeds like groundnut, sesame, castor, mustard, etc. provide us fats. Vegetables, spices, and fruits provide us vitamins and minerals along with small amounts of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Fodder crops like berseem, oats, etc. are grown as food for livestock. Different crops require different climatic conditions, temperature, and duration of sunlight, which is called as photoperiods. Now let's understand the difference between two major types of crops, that is Kharif and Rabi crops. First is they are monsoon or rainy season crops, while Rabi crops are non-monsoon season crops. Kharif crops are grown in hot and wet conditions, while Rabi crops are grown in cold and nearly dry conditions. Kharif crops are sown in the beginning of rainy season in June and July, while Rabi crops are sown in October-November when monsoon is retreated. Rabi crops are harvested during September-October at the end of monsoon, while Rabi crops are harvested in March-April before the advent of hot season. Example of Kharif crops are rice, maize, groundnut, etc., while examples of Rabi crops are wheat, barley, gram, etc. Now let's read how can we improve our crop yield. So crop yield can be improved by three main activities. First is crop variety improvement, second is crop production improvement, and third is crop protection management. We'll study each of these activities in details for crop improvement. First is crop variety improvement. In this activity, we select a crop variety that can give a good yield, that are disease resistant, response to fertilizers, product quality, and high yield. Ways by which we can get the desired characters in the crop are: first is hybridization and the second one is genetically modified crops. Now, what is hybridization? Hybridization is the crossing between genetically dissimilar plants to obtain crops having useful characteristics like disease resistance, good quality, and high yields. Hybridization may be first intervarietal type, that is between different varieties. Second is interspecific, between different species of the same genus, or intergeneric, that is between different genera. Now, genetically modified crops can be obtained by introducing a gene to obtain desired characteristic. This produces genetically modified crops. Now, what are the factors or need for which variety improvement is done? First is higher yield, to increase productivity of crop per acre. Second is biotic and abiotic resistance, to increase resistance of crops to biotic factors like insects, diseases, etc., and abiotic factors like drought, salinity, heat, cold, etc. Third, change in maturity duration. To reduce the duration between sowing and harvesting so that farmers can grow multiple crops during the year. Fourth is wider adaptability, that is, to grow crops in different climatic conditions. Fifth is desired agronomic characters, that is, characters like tallness and more branching are useful for fodder crops, and dwarfness or shortness is desirable for cereal crops. Due to shortness of cereal crops, less nutrients will be required by them. Now, as we have read about the proper selection of the seeds for our crops, now let's study crop production management. We'll be studying this under three subcategories. First is nutrient management, second is irrigation, and third is cropping patterns. Let's come to nutrient management. Plants get nutrients from air, water, and soil. There are 16 nutrients required by plants for their proper growth. Air supplies oxygen and carbon dioxide, water supplies hydrogen, and the remaining 13 nutrients are obtained from the soil. Among the 16 nutrients required by plants, 6 are required in large quantities and are called macronutrients, for example, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and sulfur, etc. The other 7 are required in small quantities and are called micronutrients, for example, iron, magnesium, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum, and chlorine. Soil can be enriched by supplying nutrients in the form of manures and fertilizers. Moving towards manures. Manure is prepared by the decomposition of plant and animal waste. It contains organic matter and nutrients. It helps to increase soil fertility. It also helps to reduce the use of fertilizers and recycle farm waste and protects the environment. There are two main types of manures. They are compost and green manure. Compost is prepared by the decomposition of plant and animal waste in compost pits. Compost prepared by using earthworms is called vermicompost. Compost is rich in organic matter and nutrients. Now we have green manure. Before sowing seeds in fields, some green plants like sunhemp, guar, etc. are mixed in the soil by plowing. These plants turn into green manure, which makes the soil rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. Fertilizers. Fertilizers are chemical substances made commercially. They supply nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium and helps to increase crop yield. Fertilizers should be used only in required amounts. Excessive use of fertilizers can reduce soil fertility and also cause water pollution. Moving towards irrigation. The supply of water to the crops is called irrigation. Water is necessary for the proper growth of plants and helps to increase crop yield. Different kinds of irrigation systems are used to supply water to agricultural land. They are wells, canals, rivers, tanks, check dams, etc. First is wells. There are two types of wells called dug wells and tube wells. In dug wells, water is collected from water bearing strata. In tube wells, water is collected from deeper strata. Canals. In this system, canals receive water from reservoirs or rivers and distribute it to fields. River lift systems. In this system, water is lifted from rivers to irrigate fields close to rivers. Tanks. These are small storage reservoirs which supply water to fields. Check dams. These are used to stop rain from flowing away and helps to increase groundwater levels and reduce soil erosion. Let's come to cropping patterns. Different ways of growing crops are used for maximum benefit. These include mixed cropping, intercropping, and crop rotation. First is mixed cropping. It is growing two or more crops simultaneously in the same field. Example, wheat or gram, wheat plus mustard, groundnuts plus sunflower, etc. This reduces the risk even if one crop fails. Next is intercropping. It is growing two or more crops simultaneously in the same field in alternate rows. Example, maize, soya bean, millet, cowpea, etc. Crop with different nutrient requirements are selected. This helps in better use of nutrients and prevents spreading of diseases to all plants of the same crop. Crop rotation. It is growing different crops in the same field in succession, that is, one after the other. Growing leguminous crops after growing cereal crops helps to increase soil fertility. If crop rotation is done properly, 2 or 3 crops can be grown in a year profitably. The third and the last part is crop protection management. Now, as we have grown our crops, we need to protect it further. Crops in the field are damaged by weeds, insects, pests, and diseases. Weeds are unwanted plants which grow in the field, example xanthium, parthenium, etc. They compete with the crop for food, space, and sunlight and use nutrients and reduce crop yield. Insect pests cause damage to the root, stem, and leaves, suck cell sap, and bore into stems and fruits. They can reduce crop yield. In plants are caused by pathogens like virus, bacteria, and fungi and reduces crop yield. Weeds, insect pests, and diseases can be controlled by using chemicals like weedicides, pesticides, fungicides, etc. They are sprayed on crop plants or used for treating seeds and soil. Since these chemicals are poisonous, excessive use of these chemicals can cause environmental pollution. Weed control methods also include mechanical removal of weeds by hand or any other machinery. Now the crop that has been harvested needs to be stored well. So let's come to storage of grains. The factors responsible for the damage and loss of grains are biotic factors like bacteria, fungi, insects, rodents, etc., and abiotic factors like moisture and temperature in the place of storage. Before storage, the grains are cleaned and dried in sunlight to remove moisture, and the storage places are fumigated to kill pests. This was the first part of the video. In the next part, we'll proceed with the other part of the chapter, which is animal husbandry. If you have any doubt regarding this video, you can ask in the comments below and can also give your suggestions to improve the video. To get the update for the next video, do subscribe the channel. Until then, take care and goodbye.